There's fury on the streets of Southport tonight as crowds gathered outside a local mosque and turned on police. It's in response to the deaths of 3 young girls who were stabbed to death at a dance class in the school yesterday morning. Community leaders are appealing for calm, and police have not released further details of the 17-year-old man they're holding in connection with the killings. Well, let's speak now to our correspondent, Amelia Harper. Amelia, we saw obviously a lot of heartache today in Southport. Hundreds of people coming to show their respects, their condolences, bring flowers to the place where the 3 little girls were killed and so many more were injured. But we have seen that turn to anger tonight. What do we understand is actually happening in Southport?
Yeah, this is rapidly turning into quite an ugly situation outside a mosque about 10 minutes away from the scene. And just to talk to the pictures that we have here, it has got so severe that there is something. It is not quite clear at this stage what is on fire, but what appears to potentially be a vehicle of some description on fire. This is happening outside Southport Mosque, and earlier in the run-up to 9 o'clock, police vans were seen driving at speed past the scene, that scene where that devastating attack at Hart Street took place. And there is now a very large police presence on the scene. You can see there is an individual in grey clothing standing up next to a house on top of what looks like a garage. There we have police officers in riot gear to protect themselves from what is happening. They are responding to very chaotic scenes at the moment. What appears to be happening is that crowds of mainly men, many wearing masks and hoodies, have been fighting with officers outside this mosque. And now, as a result of this, officers have been putting on helmets and riot gear. They have had stones and bottles launched at them and their police riot vans attacked. We can see in that image there some green smoke, possibly a flare. It is unclear at the moment. There are a couple of police vans trying to move towards what looks like a very large crowd. And we can see there that crowd of individuals, almost a sort of wall of people, throwing items at the police van there, throwing items at the police officers as well. There is certainly, from these images, a lot of heat in this scenario. We can see officers coming in and out of their vans as they do their best really to try to stem what is happening here this evening. And we understand that some police officers are seen also walking through the crowds with police dogs. This is a tactic used by police, dogs being an intimidating addition to this situation to try to quell this chaos that is happening there at the moment. But we have had a statement tonight from Merseyside Police there. We can see Riot police officers with batons just urging people to move backwards. They have said at around 7:45 p.m, a large group of people believed to be supporters of the English Defence League began to throw items towards a local mosque on St Luke's Road in Southport. And we've had a statement from their Assistant Chief Constable, Alex Goss. We have it on screen. It is sickening to see this happening within a community that has been devastated by the tragic loss of 3 young lives. In the last 24 hours, we've seen overwhelming support and sympathy from the community and wider Merseyside communities for the families who are currently trying to deal with their loss and care for victims during the major incident. And this is a serious unfolding situation that is adding to the incredibly sad scenario that has happened and unfolded with that attack yesterday. What we know at the moment is that a 17-year-old boy who cannot be named for legal reasons remains in custody, accused of murder and attempted murder following that incident at that dance studio in Hart Street. And the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, today in the Commons urging people to show respect to the families, she said, who've lost loved ones, as really misinformation and rumours are being spread online about the perpetrator of this stabbing. And for some context, in the aftermath of this attack, there were several false accusations being spread online, incorrect names of the 17-year-old boy that's been arrested and shared on social media. We know that the unnamed suspect was born in Cardiff in Wales, but many false names and the like have been spread on social media today. But this is a situation that could escalate. It is not clear at this stage police can calm things down, but when they bring in extra resources, for example, using dogs as a way to try to dispel crowds, it is clear that they are facing something that could escalate even further. And we can see images there of a number of people gathering round lines of police vans and police officers, throwing items at police officers. There was a police officer there with a baton ready to use if required. But we can see a number of people there, crowds as well, gathering to look at what has been happening. But a very serious situation here tonight that's unfolding.
It is indeed. Amelia Harper with the latest on that. Thank you. And we'll, of course, bring you the latest developments as we get them from Southport. Well, of course, all of this is happening as the community in Southport is trying to come to terms with the death of 3 children. There were signs of anger as the Prime Minister came to the scene to lay flowers and speak to emergency workers earlier today. Tonight, a 17-year-old boy arrested at the scene is still being questioned by police on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. This report from our chief North of England correspondent now, Greg Milam.
The faces of 3 young girls who all went to dance and never came home. 6-year-old BB King, 7-year-old Elsie Stancombe and 9-year-old Alice Aguiar. BB's family said no words could describe their devastation. Elsie's school called her loving and bright, a kind and caring friend. Alice's family said she would always be their princess. A number of other children and adults remain critically ill after what police called a ferocious attack minutes before the Taylor Swift-themed dance event was due to end. Leanne Lucas was one of the organisers of that event. She ran her own company, teaching children about their well-being through dance. She is one of those in hospital.
How many more children, Prime Minister? We're going to do something.
There was some heckling as the Prime Minister came to see the scene for himself, a reflection of the horror that has swept far beyond this community.
What's you to stand up for our children?
Today is not the time for politics. Today is the time to focus entirely on the families who are going through such pain and grief, and on the wider community, and of course a time to say thank you to those that responded yesterday in the most awful of circumstances.
And a response too from Taylor Swift herself. The horror of yesterday's attack, she wrote, washing over her continuously. These were just little kids at a dance class. I am at a complete loss for how to ever convey my sympathies to these families. A fundraiser set up by fans of the star has now raised hundreds of thousands of pounds. And from the community, the sympathy and the flowers keep on coming. The shock, the disbelief is palpable.
Like so many in this area, the people who've come to lay flowers and tributes say they simply can't fathom how something so awful could have happened on their doorstep. They say they feel a hopelessness, a powerlessness to do anything other than pay their tributes to those who were injured and those who were killed. We're learning more about the awful events of yesterday, including how the man who owned the building tried to stop the attacker. His wife told Sky News he saw the man with a child on the floor. He tried to grab the knife, but was himself stabbed. All he wanted to do, she said, was help that child, but he wasn't able to. There is so much for this community to process.
It is the hardest thing that it's children, you know, the innocence and, you know, the Taylor Swift connection, joy, happiness, laughter on the first day of the, you know, real summer holidays. then going to the screams and the silence, that whole soundtrack of life yesterday.
The 17-year-old remains in custody on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Sky News spoke to a former neighbour in Cardiff, where he was born, who said he was from a normal and lovely family and his mother was a good mum. This is an attack that has left its mark on even those used to dealing with the most awful of scenes. We can only imagine how long the scars will last for those who never thought this sort of horror could happen where they call home. Greg Milam, Sky News, Southport.